Hello everyone! We're back to record another video.
Yep, and this time we're going to be talking about our relationship and how we got together.
Yeah, because this month is the month of love. So we decided to share a little bit about how we got together.
And to talk about our love.
Yes, I know we celebrate love 365 days a year. Means we celebrate love and show love every single day. This month is especially and dedicated to celebrate love.
Yep.
Right.
And so we're going to talk about on how we got together and what started the sparks flying.
Yes.
So how did it begin?
It all began when I saw you at a church. I started going and visiting that church, and I saw that you were really handsome.
I'm still handsome, some say.
I saw you were a family guy with all your family, and I knew that you were Christian since you were like a baby, I think.
A little older than a baby, yeah.
I know, but most of your life you were a Christian. That is speak a lot about a person when somebody is a Christian and everybody in the family is a Christian, and then compared to somebody that is not. I saw like a really good potential. Soon after, my lovely husband right now, he stopped going to that church. He disappeared, like, whoo, disappeared. So what happened with you that you disappeared?
We started going to another church. The church that we met each other first was a Spanish church. It was like all Spanish Pentecostal, so I'm not totally fluent in Spanish. Now I understand more, but that's through the years. So we started going to this other church where it was mainly English speaking, even though the pastor is Puerto Rican. So I started going to that church. So it happened that I started working at the same job that Celeni's brother started working at.
And that's when I find out that he was working with my brother. So what I started doing is I was telling my brother, when you see Juan, can you tell him hi? And you can give him my phone number and all of that. And I think I asked like a few times to my brother to see if he was saying something. So that's what happened.
Yeah, and
why were you being so resistant to my hellos, my highs?
I knew of you, but I didn't really know you. I wasn't too sure in what the motives were. So
they were good and some a little bit not, maybe.
We'll talk about that another day. One of the reasons was I never had a girlfriend before. So I didn't really know the nuances and how to start that kind of relationship. I was in my 20s. I was still living with my parents and stuff. So I didn't really know. I guess I was somewhat interested, but not really. In a way, I was really, focused on, God, and I guess focused on doing well at my job and everything. And so, but Celeni was really focused on getting me.
Well, I was working and going to school, learning English, but
shortly after, I got the phone number from your brother, and I called her. I think
finally he called me.
Yeah, was it the first phone call or a couple phone calls we had?
No,
and then
the first phone call we set up our first date.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, direct. So, yeah.
Well, I didn't want to keep waiting for too long, right?
The date, it was at a Japanese restaurant. I know I had sushi, and Celeni, she had like a chicken tempura. I let her try some sushi.
I know,
She
that was
didn't like
my
it.
first introduction to sushi, and I didn't like it at all. I didn't like it.
After the restaurant, we went to the movies, and I think we saw like Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, whatever.
At that time, I didn't really speak English very well. Well, I'm still improving my English.
I speak English pretty well. But the Spanish, basically, she didn't speak that much English. I didn't speak that much Spanish, and so we were sort of both learning each other's languages, and so we were sort of wooing each other.
Kind of like our conversations took longer because I'm trying to explain to him what I'm trying to say in English, and he's trying to explain to me what he's trying to say in English. Sometimes it's like he's speaking English, I'm speaking Spanish, and like then he's trying to speak Spanish, I'm trying to say words in English. So our conversations for all like the first dates, I think for the few months, they were like really a little bit long conversations, just trying to understand each other.
So, needless to say, there was a bit of miscommunication from time to time. But for the most part, we got the gist that I liked her, she liked me, she was into me, and I was into her. And the love was in the air.
Yes. And I was the first official girlfriend, and that is really exciting and amazing, and that's... And one of the things that I kept
Yeah, and she was the first kiss, of which she planned in a way. The first kiss that she said, "Oh, it was by mistake," but actually she did it on purpose. It was
because I'm still like beginning like the Christian walk, right? So I'm still like more half in the Word than in God, learning all these new things. I needed to be a little bit like an innocent. But I know that's a little bit bad, but yes, that's the truth. That's how the first kiss happened.
Yeah.
Like the innocent kiss.
I was dropping her off, I think, from one of our dates. Typically, she would kiss me on my cheek, but this time she kissed me on the lips. And I was stunned because I didn't know we were at that stage yet. And it wasn't like a passionate kiss, like, ooh la la. It was just, bye.
Right? You start with little things.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to take a huge step. That was the little one.
Yeah. From there, we had, little get-togethers. It was, sometimes we would just go like to a boardwalk. We live near the ocean here in Connecticut, and we would go to a boardwalk. And we'll go there, around sunset, and just talk.
Months passed. We had a lot of dates. Mm-hmm. You came to my house.
I met your family, and then you met my family.
Yeah. First long kiss.
Was that friendlies?
Yeah, that's when we were officially boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
Then we ended up getting engaged.
Yeah. Proposed to her on one knee at a restaurant in New Haven, which is still there, actually. I did a commercial for them a few ago.
Yeah. That was really romantic. So Juan is very romantic.
Yeah, but when I proposed, what I remember is that she didn't say yes at first. She said, claro que sí, which is, of course, in Spanish. So I'm like, is that a yes? It's like, yes. Yeah, so that was funny. And we got a little applause.
So that was really cute. I think we were engaged for like 9 months, something like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe over a year since we met for the first time. We were still getting to know each other. I was beginning my walk with Christ, so I wasn't fully in. So we were still doing worldly things. Why do we have to go to church every Sunday? Or why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do that?
That was her questions.
Yeah, those were my questions.
Shortly after we got engaged, maybe a couple months after, I guess we weren't really seeing eye to eye as far as the marriage part goes. We did do a pre-marriage thing.
We were taking the pre-marriage classes.
Yeah.
Which we had to even sign a paper. Mm-hmm. The only thing we can hold hands, give hugs, and just
kiss.
A quick kiss. So we even signed a paper for that. And I remember even the counselor, I think, when she talked with me and I think with you, and she even told us to wait before we got married. Like, she didn't say, it's not like, I don't want the two of you to get married. You can take some time away from each other. Even she told me, like, you can still put the ring on my necklace and still, like, talk, but have some time away from each other.
Celeni didn't want to do that. And
I know, because I didn't get it. I said, like, no, like, let's get married. But even when I was going to church, I kind of sensed, like, I think it's not the right time, but I still wanted to get married.
We're still young, and it was still a young relationship. Just over a year together, still learning about each other. And I guess it got to a point where after, I guess, a couple of people already telling me, you got to end it. Because it was what's called an unequally yoked relationship. Mm-hmm. And she sort of had her version and her expectations. I had my version and expectations. And we weren't seeing eye to eye, and so I decided to.
Yeah, and we were doing a lot of things that we were not supposed to be doing.
Yeah, so I cut the engagement. It was a little bit of a difficult cut.
Yeah, at the beginning was really like heartbreaking because the plans were for us to get married. I like to follow the plans and I like to make them a reality.
She was my first girlfriend, my first kiss, a lot of firsts, and it was hard for me to cut that, but I made a difficult decision to do that. I did it, and we were friends. We still were friends for years. And
it took like some time for me to realize, but I think it was the best decision that you decide to break up with me, break up that relationship at that time, because I knew, even though I had that feeling, I knew I wasn't going to make that decision. So in a way, like, thank you for making that decision, because we needed that time to grow. Not just grow in our spiritual walk with God, but work in our personal life and in like so many other things.
And during that time, we grew as friends. She was dating other people. I was dating other people. She would come and complain to me about certain relationships. I would complain about certain relationships, and sort of counseling each other was weird. We were sort of helping each other.
Like, he became my best friend. Like, if I was upset with all the guys that I date in those, for how long we were like separated?
Like 5 years, 6 years.
I think maybe like around 5 years we were friends. Our family and close friends were not aware that we were still talking. So now
we were friends in secret.
So now they will find out that
a lot of them knew already. Some of them.
Yes, some of them. But we were still talking. I consider him as my best friend at that time, because we were able like sometimes to talk for hours. He's the one that I used to talk about everything.
Shift really happened where she started going to church a lot more consistently. She started reading her Bible a lot more and just learning more about faith, trusting Christ as her Savior, a more understanding concerning Scripture. I started seeing that within you. And we were still meeting up, talking as friends and everything. And I think it was when I saw this one time, I was helping with her laptop, she had laptop issues. I'm a pretty good techie. I could figure certain things out. And so I was helping her with her laptop, and I was seeing that, there was a change. So I started seeing her as essentially someone that I could marry. I really feel and believe, because I was searching for someone to be my shipmate, because, we travel through relationships sort of like a ship. And I'm a captain of my life. She's a captain of her life. But then you need someone to help you, to assist you through your voyages.
What you saw in me is what my spiritual growth. And that's what attracted you. That's what I guess I was missing. That happened because like the first few years that I was going to church, I wasn't really consistent. I was still dating other guys that they were not Christians. So I was still doing worldly things and godly things, but nothing serious. And I said, like, I'm done with everything. I made a commitment to start reading the Bible every single day. I asked God, okay, if you are true and everything is true from the Bible, like if his word is true, speak to me. I said, I'm going to stop like dating anybody. And I want to be with a person who is my soulmate. We're going to get married. We're going to start a family. And that's what I want. But if that doesn't happen, that I was straight with God, I'm going to serve you for the rest of my life. And I want to fall in love with you. Because with all the relationships I have, at that moment, I thought I was in love with them. But and then when I was with God, it's like, I want to fall in love with God. I asked him, I want to fall in love with God. I want to fall in love with God, like the way, like I miss him. I want to spend time with him. Like I cannot wait, like, and I'm content. For the first few months, I think I said, like, this is not working. This is not. Eventually, I stopped doing completely all the worldly things, the Holy Spirit really convict my heart, and I start dedicating my time and everything to get into the Word. And that's when my life started changing tremendously. I fell in love with God. That's when I realized, I said, like, I thought I was in love with all of my boyfriends that I had since I was 18, so a long time. But until I met Jesus and I fell in love with him, like, it's just completely different, that kind of love that you feel. I couldn't wait, like, to go to church and hear the word, hear the message, worship, or be with other Christian believers, or spend time, like, in my prayer time, communication with him, reading the word or reading other Christian books. It was just, I don't know, it was the first time that I said, like, this is real love. Like, I was so content. I was so happy. I wasn't looking around to see, like, which guy is single, like, who's single, like, looking about, like, all the cute faces, the handsome guys. Like, that wasn't, not even in my thoughts, not even anything, like, in my plans, which before, when I used to go sometimes to bars or restaurants or meetings or things, always looking to see who's single or who can I talk or something. My first true love was Jesus. I fell in love with him, and I said, there is nothing better than this kind of love. I was just in love about everything that I was doing, and it was happiness. It was peaceful. I was at peace.
You were being fulfilled.
Yes. So I think that was the best thing that happened.
One thing that you did say was, the moment you stopped looking, God brought me back into your life.
Yeah.
And so it was a point where you weren't believing it at first. And you're like, you're playing with me. You're joking with me. Because you were saying, I want to, if we do this, it's going to be serious. And we're not going to be playing around. It's not a game.
Yeah.
And so that made me even more in love with you.
The thing
because
that
I felt the same way.
You see, like, you saw in me the spiritual growth that I was missing, because I was still kind of half doing worldly things and the other one trying to do good things. So when I became serious with God, and I was just sharing with you all the love of, like, the love that I was feeling for God and my commitment and the things that I wanted to do for God. So that's what I was missing. The thing that I guess you were missing at that time, that even though, like, you were my best friend, and you were still handsome, you were still cute, you were still funny, I thought that you were not serious enough. I say that because at that time, you were, like, renting, I think, a small room from a house. I think it was a $600 for the room. You couldn't able even to pay that $600, which is all.
I had to sell my drum set, which I was a drummer, and I started to pursue photography around that time, but I had to sell my drum set to pay the rent because I was just I just started in my photography business, and I was struggling to find jobs and everything, and so it was a God thing where I felt that I needed to do that, sort of, separate the two.
Because you couldn't afford the $600, so you moved to a basement in another house.
My friend's house, yeah.
And you were paying $300 a month. Sometimes because I was teaching, I used to do, like, some projects, and he's really good with the computer. So I used to go to his house so he could help me to do those projects. And I was paying for his dinner or bring some food, things like that.
She was paying me for my services.
Yes.
My technical services.
Food. And then there was a time that you couldn't even afford $300 for rent. So, and then in my mind, it's like, he's a nice guy. He has all these great qualities that's what I want for a husband or somebody to be with. But I said, I cannot be with someone who is maybe irresponsible, who cannot even afford $300. You had to move back, and we're kind of like forced to move back with your parents. sleeping in a couch. I couldn't fathom that in my head. So even I remember telling him like, you need to go even get a job like somebody even like for like $8, $9, $10 an hour just so you can pay the $300.
Well, I didn't want that because I was just starting out my business. If I went and got a job, I felt like I was quitting. I was so, I guess you could say, stubborn pursuing photography and pursuing my art. I went to a church service where the pastor was preaching, and I was really like trying to discover God's will for my life. And what he was saying really connected with me in such a way where he was saying that usually whatever you're most passionate about is your calling, God's calling upon your life. And so I started sort of mulling around in my mind, what am I most passionate about? And I started discovering was with photography and art and everything like that. At the time, I was working for Comcast. As a contractor, I worked with a bunch of different similar companies, but it was just a job. I wasn't really passionate about it. I enjoyed it to a point, but it was just getting crazy and then even crazier yet. So I decided to give my 2 weeks, sort of like a vacation 2 weeks, just to sort of pursue, to sort of figure this thing out, to see if photography was something that I want to do as a living.
Which I didn't understand.
Yeah,
I couldn't understand like how you're gonna quit this job when you barely don't have finances, how you're gonna support yourself, pay the rent. So I just couldn't understand.
Yeah.
But he was saying that
I was feeling that God
is the one who spoke to you. I just couldn't understand that.
And so I did. And thankfully so. But to sort of continue from there, I started to pursue photography. After that 2-week vacation where I took a couple of jobs, I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. Decided to give my 2 weeks notice to my boss. My boss, he's actually a pastor's kid, so he sort of understood, God's calling and everything like that. But he was sad to let me go because he said it was going to make me a manager and everything, but I'll be a manager at a job I didn't like. So it wasn't worth, staying there. And so I left the job without savings, without any kind of...
Yeah, that's not the best thing to do.
I was single at the time. I was living alone. I didn't have children. I didn't have a wife to support and everything. So I wouldn't suggest that to anybody. But if you really feel that is God's calling upon your life and you're afford to sort of pursue it and all that, I think is the best way because it sort of leaves you in a position where it's sort of like you pursue it until things start clicking. And if it's not clicking for you, then you have to sort of figure things out. But for me, it worked out differently. It really helped me grow in my faith. It helped me to grow in who I am, realizing my potential, and to be able to listen to God and to connect my creative abilities to what He's saying about me and pursuing art and everything like that. At the same time, I was pursuing my photography business. Celeni was pursuing God in a deeper way, and I was pursuing God in a deeper way at the same time through my photography and God directly.
And I'm so happy that even though like I kept telling you need to go find any type of job or like what you think,
I didn't listen to her too well.
He didn't listen to me at all.
To a point, I listened to her, but
Yeah, but at least thank God he didn't listen to me because I still couldn't understand like why are you doing that? Thanks to his decision, his commitment, dedication, and he was really like focusing on what he believed and he heard from God, and he thought that was God speaking to you. Like I saw how great is your faith, but because until like for me it's like if I don't see it, I don't believe it. But now after years later, maybe like 10, I can see that he was being obedient to what God was speaking. So I'm really happy that you end up listening to God and not to me. And
I listened to you.
At least in that sense that I wanted him to quit that. I guess he's pursuing his dreams. Couldn't understand. But now I'm really happy and we both are enjoying and being blessed by you being obedient. So we are being blessed, like beyond blessed. And I'm so happy for that decision.
We had a lot of things happen with with the engagement being broken up, it wasn't just us being separated, it was our families that were separated. And so there was a lot of forgiveness that needed to happen. Both her side to me, my side to her, and her side to me. So we had what's called like a forgiveness session where all the resentment, all the things that were done wrong, from my side to her, her side to me, we're just forgiving. We're just letting it go, breaking all the chains, letting go of all loose ends and everything like that.
And that happened because I needed to get something at Walmart. We decided to talk right there and then about forgiveness. I'm so in love with God, and you're growing in the business. So we have those parts. So I said, like, let's talk about forgiveness. That was the first day that we call it forgiveness session. And since then, we keep having forgiveness sessions once a month, once a week, or sometimes every day.
Every other day.
But that was the beginning. When we have that forgiveness session, I'm going to speak and I'm going to say everything that I've been holding for all these years that I never say, and you were going to say all the things that were in your heart that you never say, because I think when you broke up with me years ago, and then we start being just friends, it's kind of like we put a wall. Even though we had a lot of resentment, a lot of anger, a lot of like still being upset that we never really fully closed the book, but we put a wall in between. So that forgiveness session, like I start saying, I think we both were crying, a lot of like tears.
Yeah, I literally felt all the things, like the chains and everything that I felt, like resentment, anger, frustration against Celeni. I felt it leave me.
Because you spoke everything that was done, like we did in the past that wasn't of God, or like we hurt each other in so many ways. Like I did things I did to you and things that you did to me and that we did together. Yes, and it's like everything, like it just felt like such a big release, like we were like tied and now everything, like all the chains were broken.
We were loosey-goosey again.
I feel like
the floodgates were opened for love again.
Yes, and after that day, that's when I start seeing you with like no, that's when I start seeing you with those eyes of like with love. Like then it wasn't just
4 of them.
Then it wasn't just like, oh, like he's handsome, he's cute, he's a good guy, he has all the things that I want in a guy.
Check.
He wasn't just that. He was now like, wow, I love him. I'm falling in love with him again. And now I start feeling he was the real one. And that's when I guess you start seeing me like that. That's when you asked me to go to a wedding.
It got to a point where we were like, when I asked her, I really want to pursue this again. She was saying, you know, is it serious? Are you sure? And I was saying, yes.
We used to go out as friends for a coffee, for a movie, or to the diner, or to like different places, but just as friends. But and then like you had to go to a wedding, like you were invited to go to a wedding. And then you asked me, you want to go to a wedding with me? It was like, what? If we go to a wedding of somebody from his church, and that means we're going public.
We were secret all this time.
Yeah, we were secret.
And then by going out with her to a wedding, a lot of people were like, was she just there and you just took a picture together, or did you go together? And so I was answering a lot of questions to my parents. She was answering to her parents.
But I wasn't really like, okay, yes. It's like, are you sure? Because that was our first official date.
But not as boyfriend and girlfriend yet. It was just a date to sort of let the cat out of the bag, as the saying goes.
And make it public for all my family and his family and our friends.
Yeah. And so we went on the first date. Again, we went to the movies after the wedding. It was
yeah.
interesting. We took some pictures and we were just figuring it out. And what was it, like 2 weeks later I proposed?
No, I'm not sure.
2 months later, at least. I think it was at least 2 months later I proposed. Oh, but this is what happened. This is what happened. We were talking one day and I was saying that, I really love her and that I wanted her to be my girlfriend again. And so it wasn't just to be the girlfriend. I was saying, what I'm asking you is not just to be my girlfriend. I was re-proposing. And so she got really teary and I asked her, Celeni, do you want to be my girlfriend? She's like, yes. Because proposing without the ring. It's sort of like a promissory thing. And so she said yes, and then...
So you were renting a condominium. I saw that the business started growing. I saw you more like responsible, hardworking guy. So I said, okay, so now he has all the things that were missing. And now, we both, the piece that you were missing and the piece that I was missing.
You completed me.
Now we complete them. Because he wanted my spiritual growth and I wanted him, his responsibility, see him hardworking and getting the money, being able to pay the rent, being able to pay all the bills, kind of the things that were missing in both of us, we fulfilled those. So when we got to those things, so that's when we connect again and that's when we start seeing each other with different eyes.
Yeah. I had to re-ask her dad specifically, her parents too, and their brother. Yeah. I asked for forgiveness and I asked for Celeni's hand in marriage for the second time to her dad. And he said yes, of course, because they saw how, I was treating her and this time it was for real and serious and everything. Her brother wasn't there. And because her brother is sort of like a second father to her, I needed to do the same thing with him. It took a little bit longer.
And then, you still, had to talk with your parents and try to explain a lot what was happening and what was going on. So that took some time. But eventually, both families kind of accepted, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe not too much.
Reunited. I mean, they recognize that we're adults. Yeah. And they saw, that there was something different this time around.
So I think after, talking, you proposed to me. Mm-hmm. I think a few days later, you went to buy the ring. You went to buy... Mm-hmm. Where did you give me the ring?
We went to the beach. It was a specific beach in East Haven that we had, a memorable sunset. And we went to the same beach, and I proposed to you right there in the sand. No one around, nothing too fancy, because she was sort of expecting it. Anyway,
I can expect so many things.
Yeah. So she loved the ring. We started planning the wedding there.
Right there.
2 weeks.
No, 3 weeks.
3 weeks after I proposed, we got married. It was at a beautiful mountain castle.
Oh yeah, I love that castle, and that's where I wanted to have the ceremony.
Yeah. So, honeymoon, we went to Niagara Falls. Amazing. Falls. Really enjoying our time, growing in love with each other. We're in marriage. We're in it. We're in it together. It's a relationship. It's moving together. We're growing together. It's a relationship.
It's not like that all the time.
It's pushing and pulling. Okay? It's sort of So when it's a physical sort of representation of marriage. It's a dance. It's a dance.
Oh, yeah, we dance with the wine.
The more you learn your partner's movements, the more you're able to gracefully dance with them.
We've been together for 6+ years. Mm-hmm. We've done a lot of things together.
Learning a lot together.
Learning about each other, growing together, helping each other, encouraging each other.
Learning about marriage together, because there's our first marriage.
At the beginning of the marriage, even though we're in love for each other, the beginning wasn't easy at all, even though we had God. So at that time, we were taking the pre-marriage classes. The pre-marriage classes, you're supposed to take it before you get married, but because we get engaged and we plan the wedding in 3 weeks, it's just no time to take the whole pre-marriage things. So I told my pastor that after getting married, I was going to go take the classes. Yeah, it's a little bit backwards.
Yeah, so we gave him a promise.
Yeah, so...
And we kept our promise.
Yeah. So we took the pre-marriage classes after we got married. And I think that was what helped us in the beginning of our marriage.
Even till now.
Even though we love each other, it's like two different worlds coming together. Like two different cultures, two different backgrounds, different points of view in so many things, and then just trying to live together. That can be tough for a lot of marriages. Taking the pre-marriage classes was a great thing that helped us kind of like build the foundation of our marriage. I think that's what I'm so thankful that we were able to take those classes, because that was the foundation, that laid the foundation. And we read all those books and we were doing the assignments. Sometimes you were like really busy, but I said like, no, we have to do the assignment. We have to answer the questions. We have to do these things.
It was very beneficial for our marriage. And even till now, we're still remembering all the trainings, all the growth that we had from those trainings. Because we still keep in contact with the marriage counselor that helped us through the years, through little difficulties that we had. We passed, the marriage counseling, thank God. But there's still, other things that happen. We sometimes just hang out with him. We wanted to tell you a little bit of our story because it's not really traditional. Most people that break up as being engaged couples and try to come back together doesn't work out sometimes. But for us, it did. And we're thankful that it did, because it ended up being that she's my second half, and a beautiful second half at that. And so
I think we beautifully complement each other.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of areas, I'm stronger. In other areas, I'm a little bit weak. And in some areas, you're like really strong. In some areas, you're a little bit weak. So it's kind of like we complement each other. Like we
complete
each other.
So,
even though I'm complete by myself on my own, and he's complete on his own, so perfect. Even though we have our things like in all marriages, but we've been done so many things that maybe later on we can keep sharing like tips and things that we do, because to build a marriage, like a strong marriage, isn't easy. It requires work, dedication, commitment, and I think we both been doing that.
Yeah.
I think that's what I believe.
And
like we have a stronger marriage.
It's a journey. And that's why at the beginning, before I asked her out on the first date, I saw the analogy of me being the captain of my life, Celeni being a captain of her life, and I needed a shipmate that was worthy of being sort of the co-partner, and that's what the ring represents. It's on the left, it's on your side, not that it's the head of the relationship, but we're doing this together. Just sort of like when you put your hand in my hand, it's together, That's what love is, and love is a daily decision that we're making.
Yeah.
In marriage, that's what needs to be done, a daily decision.
So that's why like this month of February is dedicated to the month of love. But in a marriage, and I'm really happy that it's a whole month like in celebration of love. But in a marriage, we celebrate love and we show love to each other every single day. But I'm really happy that there is a whole month and a special day dedicated to that. Yeah. So that is a good thing.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed our little story. It's probably bigger than you anticipated, but we enjoyed it, and we're still enjoying it, every day that we're living it.
It was February 14th that we were seeing each other with different eyes. So February is a significant month. We wish everybody happy Valentine's Day. Celebrate love with your family, your friends.
Or significant other.
Your significant other.
Even your pet. You have pets you love.
Yes. Or even just your love with God. It doesn't matter what stage you are. You can still celebrate it. You can still have fun, plan things.
So please like and subscribe to this video, and please share it with any family and friends that would like it too.
I hope you enjoy, and see you next time.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye. Yeah. Crisis.
Yeah.